Hello and welcome to my 2020 class tier list for the Elder Scrolls Online. We're going to be taking a look at all of the classes in the game, Magicka and Stamina, and talking about how they stack up against each other in PvP, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what roles they tend to excel at. Now, we of course are going to have some gameplay footage to go along with every single class archetype, brought to you by either myself or other ESO content creators. Links, of course, to everybody featured in this video down in the description below. And of course, I'm going to try to remain as objective as possible, but you're going to have to remember that this is a personal tier list that is kind of my opinion based on what I think and my experiences in PvP as a solo player. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start at the bottom of the list and work our way up. The first class we're going to take a look at is the Magica Necromancer. Now, Magica Necromancer is, well, kind of slow. It's actually the slowest class in the game, and I think that's a big reason why I give it such a low rating on this tier list. Magica Necromancer also has no gap closer and no speed buff in its built-in class kit. Necromancer in general doesn't have very good access to buff coverage. However, it makes up for that by having a lot of debuffs that it spits out, and some of the strongest debuffs in the game as well. Now, Magica Necromancer has one of the strongest healing kits in the game, some really powerful burst heals, and incredibly strong heal over time with its tethers and its pet summons. And the Magica Necro offensive kit, well, it does lack an offensive stun. You do kind of have a defensive stun with the armor, but you have got some serious firepower on the Magnecro offensive kit. Blastbones hurls its body at targets in the upcoming Harrowstorm patch, so it's going to be a much more reliable offensive ability. And of course, the synergy move that Magica Necromancer has on its own skill allows it to have huge AoE burst potential mixed in with Blastbones and the Necro Smash ult. So this patch, I've given Magica Necromancer a B. It's honestly pretty good. It's very powerful. It's got some insane firepower with the ability to wipe groups, and in my opinion, is one of the best options for group play that you can pick in the game. Now, next up on the list, we have got Magicka Nightblade. Now, Nightblade is in a pretty good spot in this patch. Really, Nightblade has got some flexibility. You can go for those higher damage specs. You can go for those tankier healing specs. Honestly, you don't need to play the stealth class in the stealth way during this patch at all. You can have a lot of success with a lot of build variety on it. Changes to Magblade this patch have given it access to snare immunity in its class kit, which is absolutely massive for it. That's pretty much the biggest weakness it had. And of course, Nightblade gives you access to stealth and teleports, which allow you to really play that sleight of hand gameplay style that is very unique to the Nightblade class. But at the end of the day, I think the other classes kind of excel in the non-stealth area a little bit more than the Magica Nightblade can, and just due to there being so many strong counters to stealth in today's meta, I have to leave Magica Nightblade where they were in the last tier list video at a solid B. The big plus note for me on Magblade being that if you're good at that sleight of hand gameplay, I think that you can really push this class possibly further than you could any other. Now, next on the list, we have got Magica Warden. And this might be a little bit of a surprise for you guys to see it this kind of low on the list, but really it comes down to the fact that they're losing the Vampire Drain Stun in the upcoming Harrowstorm patch. Magica Warden, though, has some of the best healing power in the game with one of the best healing kits, access to some of the highest, if not the most buff coverage out of any class in the game. And yeah, Magden has also got some huge combo firepower, some big AoE firepower to go with it. It just allows Magden to run a huge variety of builds from damage to healer to tank and really excel at all of them. But the biggest factor that I think hurts Magden is just its lack of a reliable class stun. You either have to use a certain weapon set or be a vampire in order to have a good stun on the Magden, and that can kind of hurt your builds or your build diversity at the end of the day. That being said, though, I think Magden is all around a fantastic option for solo and group PvP, and it definitely earns a solid B+ on the list, being one of my personal favorite classes to play as the Frost Mage archetype. Now, next on our list, we have got Magicka Dragonknight. Now, Magicka Dragonknight is a powerful force on the battlefield. It has got a very powerful healing kit, very strong defensive utility skills, and that Magica DK firepower, man. It has got one of the strongest burst skills in the game via its Lava Whip, and access to some of the most powerful Magicka damage over time abilities in the game as well. Now, Magicka Dragonknight is by no means a fast class, but is a lot more mobile than it used to be, and it has access to built-in snare removal in its class kit too, which is always a help on the battlefield. And finally, MagDK has some of the best crowd control abilities in the game. So in 2020, I give MagDK a solid B+. The real downsides for this class for me are really just that it's a little bit on the slower side, but if it can stay on top of its opponents, can apply some of the most devastating pressure in the game. Now, next up on our list, we have got Stamina Nightblade. Now, of course, Stamina Nightblade has got some of the most powerful offensive skills in the game, just offering some of the biggest burst and, of course, that burst out of stealth unique to the Nightblade class. It's got access to a ton of buffs and debuffs for its opponents, as well as some awesome regen all across the board. Stamina Nightblade in general is just a fantastically built class that just synergizes well for smooth, seamless gameplay with very little buff management and a lot of active gameplay instead. Now, Stamina Nightblade, of course, excels at that sleight of hand gameplay and is faster than its Magicka counterpart, but the downside, I think, is that it has, of course, less healing power and access to fewer heals than the Magicka Nightblade does as well. In 2020, I have to give Stamina Nightblade a solid A. It is the ultimate trickster class that allows you to really punish an opponent for making a mistake, but at the same time, I think that this is a rough patch for that stealth trickster playstyle, and that's a big reason why Stamblade doesn't get to be higher on this list. Next up, we have got Stamina Warden. Now, Stamina Warden is, well, pretty defined by the fact that it gets major mending easily on a stamina class. So pretty much all of the heals that you have access to are going to be heavily amplified on the Stamina Warden, just giving it one of the, well, strongest stamina healing kits in the game. Not only that, but you have built-in stamina heals as well, which is pretty rare for a class. And then on top of it, Warden has that really powerful AoE burst kit, which allows it to put a ton of hurt on a group of players as well. Like the Magicka Warden, they have access to almost all of the buffs in the game, and I think they really edge out the Magicka Warden just due to the fact that they're a little bit faster and they have access to a more reliable stun in PvP via the weapons kit. So I'm ranking Stamden at A this patch, mostly because, well, it's a little bit better than it was a few patches ago, thanks to having that off-balance debuff and just the general all-around power and options that Stamina Wardens have. Now, next on the list, we have got Stamina Templar. And Stamina Templar is in a really good spot in this patch, simply because, well, Templar has great base weapon damage, which just allows a stamina build to push good base damage and healing. It's got an awesome amount of sustain thanks to channel focus. It's got its own unique stamina abilities as well, giving it access to a powerful stun, a great delayed burst, and one of the best spammables in the game. Stamina Templar has some of the best buff coverage as well. It has access to the most powerful purge in the game, which also doubles as a heal over time that costs you Magicka. And finally, Stamina Templar retains a cancelable ultimate in Crescent Sweep, giving it one of the best burst ultimates that you can whip out quickly. So in this patch, I am giving Stamina Templar an A+ because, well, it's just great all around. It doesn't really have a weakness, and it has powerful counters to everything that it will come by in PvP. Now, next up, we have got Stamina Sorcerer. Stamina Sorcerer, of course, is going to be the fastest thing in Cyrodiil. It has got the teleport, it has got minor expedition in its class kit too. Yeah, nothing's going to be keeping up with a Stamsorc that doesn't want to be caught. Now, in 2020, Stamsorc has actually got some pretty impressive healing power, and it has got access to some new abilities in the past couple patches, giving it a little bit more burst and its own unique stamina morph. But I think the big strength of Stamina Sorcerer is its ability to turn Magicka into more stamina. In my opinion, this lets you build a Stamina Sorcerer to a bigger extreme for PvP than you can any other class, allowing you to almost completely forego sustain and just rely on the fact that you can keep turning that Magicka into stamina to keep yourself going. So for these reasons, I give Stamsorc an A+. It has got a lot of firepower, a ton of built-in sustain via its class kit, and yeah, I think just for today's meta, Stamsorc being the fastest thing out there and one of the most powerful, it can do really well. Now, next on my list, I have got Stamina Necromancer, and this one is really exciting for me to rank so high up, and there's good reason for it. Necromancer has got one of the best burst kits in the game, and with the changes to Blastbone, Stamina Necromancer being able to reliably push out that major defile, it is going to be absolutely devastating in PvP. Now, Stamina Necromancer also has a ton of built-in regen when it has a pet up, and the healing power that it gets from having the pets up and just the flat durability from keeping the Mender up. It really puts Stamina in quite a durable class, which allows you to play a really high firepower focused build and retain a lot of bulk yourself. The Corpse and Tether gameplay has been reworked so it works better for Stamina Necromancer, giving us more options for stamina healing as well. And Stamina Necromancer can do quite a great job defending itself while spending no stamina too. So it makes it a very interesting class for PvP, but at the end of the day, I've got to give it an A+ this patch because of that massive AoE damage potential that it has, the absolute insane amount of debuff coverage that it has too, and that healing power to go on top. The big weakness of Stamina Necromancer is the lack of speed, but being a stamina class makes it more mobile than its Magicka counterpart, and that's why I've given it such a good rating in this coming patch. Now, next up, we have got Stamina Dragonknight. And, well, I'm sure this isn't a huge surprise to you guys. Stamina Dragonknight is absolutely monstrous this patch. It has been great for the past few patches, but yeah, it's just got everything. It's got the firepower, it's got an extensive stamina kit, some of the best stamina dots in the game, major mending, helping amplify all of its heals, its own class stamina healing morphs as well. Yeah, Stamina Dragonknight has just got absolutely everything that you'd want in a stamina build. And then, of course, it has got the Dragon Leap ultimate, which is arguably the best stamina ultimate kind of in the game right now. In the upcoming Harrowstorm patch, there will be a little bit of hang time on this ultimate, but the fact that it is an AoE and undodgeable, it just allows you to put so much pressure out with a StamDK and turn and burn a group in just a rapid matter of moments. And yeah, using that Battle Roar to get the resource back, StamDK is just designed, in my opinion, for that solo style of fighting, and it definitely deserves an S rank in 2020. I mean, Stamina Dragonknight just has everything: damage, healing, durability, sustain, and of course, well-developed offensive and defensive ability kits to match. And for the second last entry on the list, we have got Magicka Templar. And Magicka Templar this patch, man, it just has everything. Just like the StamDK before it, it's got the firepower, the healing, it's got durability. I mean, Magicka Templar has the ability to maintain a huge amount of incoming healing power as it puts pressure on its opponents. I mean, pretty much everything you do on the Magicka Templar heals you, and then on top of it, it's got an incredibly powerful offensive kit, the strongest Magicka burst ultimate in the game via Crescent Sweep, which is undodgeable as well, and then just so much AoE pressure that if your opponent is relying on something like rolling to stay alive, they are going to struggle so hard against the amount of pressure the Magplar can put out. If all this wasn't convincing enough, Magplar has awesome buff coverage, access to some of the best sustain for a Magicka build in the game, and of course that hard counter of having the best purge in the game as well. Magicka Templar for me definitely gets an S rank this patch, and it's just because it has everything. It again is just a powerhouse of a class, boasting amazing damage, healing, sustain. It is not the fastest class in the game, but it is incredibly hard to slow down. And finally, guys, the last class on the list is Magicka Sorcerer. In my opinion, I think it's a three-way tie for the top class between StamDK, Magplar, and Magicka Sorcerer, all of them performing so well in 2020. Magsorc, of course, having some of the best damage shields in the game, giving it an absolute insane amount of durability while building for firepower. Sorcerer also has an amazing ability to heal itself as it applies pressure to its opponents, and on top of it, Magsorc has got access to Streak, making it the most mobile Magicka class in the game, and arguably one of the fastest things in Cyrodiil as well. Magicka Sorcerer also has one of the strongest burst kits for PvP, also offering a delayed execute, pretty much meaning that you can drop an opponent from almost full health to 0 with a good combo on the Magsorc. And then, just to make things fun, they have access to one of the strongest burst heals via their pets. Oh yeah, they've got pets too that they can summon to body block their opponents, and they have access to 3 incredibly powerful ultimates for a Magicka build. The very powerful pet that you can summon from the Atronach, Negate being the strongest counter ultimate to pretty much any Magicka build in the game, and then finally Overload, replacing your light attacks with even stronger attacks, giving Magsorc just absolutely insane burst when it builds for it. So Magsorc definitely earns that S ranking in 2020, but has to share it with Magplar and StamDK this time around. All in all, I think Magsorc still remains kind of the pinnacle of what you want for a solo PvP class. So there you go, guys. That is my updated tier list for 2020. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I would love to hear what you guys think. I know that this is my opinion, so other people will have their own thoughts on the tier list. So feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. A huge shout out to everybody featured in this video. We've got links to all of these content creators down in the description below. If you guys are interested in sending in your own clips for the top 5, or if you want to send in a build to be featured on the channel, you can send that to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. You can catch live gameplay from me on Twitch, a link in the description below. If you want to keep up to date with my shenanigans, give me a follow on Twitter. If you guys are interested in written guides to my builds, as well as a hub for all of my ESO content, you can find it on my website, KristoferESO.com. We are sponsored by What the Fast, a VPN for gamers. They are free to try for the first 30 days via the link in the description below. And finally, if you guys really love the show and you want to help support it, you can always become a patron on Patreon. Without your help, I wouldn't be doing this job, so a big thank you to everybody who has chosen to help out. A big thank you to everybody just for tuning in and watching today. And as always, guys, I hope to see you next time. Have a great night, everyone.